Main upper arm muscles that we want to train are biceps, triceps, brachialis and brachioradialis. When we look at the biceps origin, we can see that it crosses the shoulder joint. When we look at its insertion, we can see that it crosses the elbow joint to insert into the radius bone. This means that the biceps is involved in 3 movements: elbow flexion, forearm supination, and it also assists in shoulder flexion. That's why you get a better biceps contraction when your arm is in a flexed position. You can try it out, see for yourself how you can feel a better contraction here than when your arm is in a more extended position. So we can use this knowledge when we train our biceps and try to supinate our forearms and flex our shoulders as we curl. Or we can position our arms behind the torso to get it in a more stretched position if we're trying to make it biased more towards the lengthened position. Below your biceps sits another important muscle called brachialis. It originates into the distal half of the humerus and inserts into the ulna. Because of its insertion point, your brachialis contracts whenever there is an elbow flexion, regardless of the hand position. Brachioradialis originates at the end of the humerus and inserts into the end of the radius. So listen, all of these muscles will assist each other during the exercise that involves elbow flexion. However, different hand positions will determine how much they contribute to the lift. When we're using a pronated grip, both our biceps and brachioradialis are positioned in disadvantage. So now the brachialis is going to be the main contributor to the lift because it's the only muscle that is not affected by the hand position. That's because it's the only one of these muscles that inserts into the ulna. You can test this by yourself. So when you rotate your forearm, you can see that ulna always stays in the same position while the radius is circling around it. Okay, so when we put our hand in the neutral position and perform curls like that, now brachioradialis is positioned parallel to its origin, so it can contribute much more to the elbow flexion compared to the other 2 muscles. Finally, when the forearm is supinated, now the biceps has the biggest advantage because one of the biceps functions is to supinate the forearm, plus the pull is directly aligned with the biceps insertion point. Also keep in mind that whenever you perform the elbow flexion while training your back with the pulling movements, all of these muscles are going to be engaged to a certain degree, depending on how much elbow flexion there is in the movement and by the position of your hands. Triceps has 3 heads and it's twice the size of the biceps muscle. The long head of the triceps is the one that crosses your shoulder joint and originates at the scapula. The lateral head originates from the posterior side at the top of the humerus. The medial head lies beneath these 2 and originates also at the top of the humerus right next to the lateral head origin. The muscle fibers of all 3 heads meet and converge into a tendon that attaches at the end of the ulna. The main function of your triceps is the elbow extension. However, since the long head does cross your shoulder joint, triceps is involved in shoulder extension and shoulder adduction. This means that your triceps is going to be engaged in any exercise that involves elbow extension, which is every single pressing exercise. When we specifically focus on training our triceps through the isolation exercises, we can make sure the exercise is more biased towards the lengthened position by flexing our shoulders. This is why you can get a full tricep stretch when performing skull crushers or overhead triceps extensions. On the other hand, if you want to focus more on the contraction, we can do the press downs or the kickbacks because our shoulder is now in the extended position. This is why I suggest that you always add a little bit of the shoulder movement when training your triceps.